Welcome back to GS with Harvey. In this video, we are going to discuss about the important news of the Hindu and the PIB. Let's begin. The very first news is related to Sikkim Assembly. This is very important for UPSC prelims. What is the news context? The Home Ministry has set a proposal to increase the number of seats from 32 to 40. And the tribes, the Limbu Tamang tribes will be given the representation in Vidhan Sabha. At present, Bhutia Lepchas, which is another tribe, scheduled tribe, had adequate representation in the Vidhan Sabha Assembly. The Limbu Tamang were given the status of scheduled tribe in year 2003, after which they were demanding from long time for the inclusion in the Vidhan Sabha Assembly. And this is also, we should not forget that the Sikkim merged with India in 1975, and after that it is the first time that it is going to expand the legislative assembly, the number of seats in the legislative assembly. The one important thing here is notable that the seats for Bhutia and Lepchas tribes are not reserved on the basis of them being a scheduled tribe, but they are a result of the annexation or agreement between the ex Chogyal king of Sikkim and political the political government of India. So this is the provision. Now let me ask you a question. If we have to increase the number of seats in the Vidhan Sabha Assembly or either Lok Sabha Assembly, then what is the procedure? Is there any constitutional amendment is required or not? No, there is no constitutional amendment is required for expansion of seats in the Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha. We should not forget this. But the amendment is required, but not that is the constitutional amendment. The amendment is required in the second schedule of the People of Representation Act 1950. So we should not forget that there is no constitutional amendment is required for expansion of seats in the Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha. Well, Article 82 suggests that for changing of seats, government can constitute a delimitation body, and which is a statutory body, and government can constitute a delimitation body from time to time. Till now, there have been 4 delimitation commissions. The fourth and the last was in 2002. So, what is a delimitation? What is a delimitation body, or what does a delimitation commission does? Actually, they decide. Suppose I explain you through an example. Suppose it's an area and it is divided into 4 parts. Like suppose I say this is a state of Haryana, this is Rohtak, this is Hisar, this is Bhiwani, this is Gurgaon. So what the commission will do, if the commission feels that this Rohtak area is required a adequate representation, then it will merge the sum area of Rohtak to Hisar, and it will increase the seat. So it is actually the delimitation body has a duty to see the whether an area got adequate number of representation in the Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha Assembly or not. So for this, a Delimitation Act 2002 was passed. But what is the problem here is that the government had adjusted the number of seats in an assembly of any state, and that can be readjusted on the basis of the first census conducted after 2026. It means that the number of seats cannot be increased or cannot be decreased. Well, it can't be decreased, but I can say that it cannot be expanded till the first census. So the question here is that it is the duty of delimitation commission to expand the number of seats in the Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha Assembly of any particular state. Then how the seats of a Sikkim Assembly is expanding, or there is a proposal for expanding the seats in Vidhan Sabha Assembly, because as per the Delimitation Act 2002, The number of seats in an assembly or of any state can only be readjusted on the basis of the first census conducted after 2026. But the seats of the Sikkim assembly is increasing or expanding because of the special constitutional provision to the Sikkim. We should not forget that the Sikkim has got a special constitutional provision which allows them to make the changes. More seats for Sikkim assembly. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs opposed the move. Also, this is to be noted that the Ministry of Tribal Affairs opposed the move as there are many remaining communities in the Sikkim which are not adequately representative in the state Vidhan Sabha assembly. So this was the whole news context, and this is very important for the UPSC prelims because UPSC generally asks about the name of the tribes and their places or the state which they belong to. Now let's attempt a question from UPSC 2009 question, which is asked. The question in which of the one of the following places is the Shompen tribe found? The options are Nilgiri Hills, Spiti Valley, Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep Islands. The answer is Nicobar Island. So now let's move to the next news item, which is BC panel bill to return to House. What does it mean? The backward caste panel bill will return to the House. The Union government will introduce the constitutional bill. In fact, it will reintroduce the constitutional bill, that is 123rd Amendment Bill, in the winter session of Parliament, which will seek to accord the constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes. What is the aim of the bill? The bill will give the constitutional status to the National Commission for Backward Classes. At present, it is a statutory body which was created in 1993, and it had only limited powers like to recommend the inclusion or exclusion of a community from the central list. We should not forget the power to hear complaints of the OBCs and protect their interest remain with the National Commission for Scheduled Caste. So NCBC, that is National Commission for Backward Classes, had no powers to hear complaint of the OBC. But after passing this bill, when the bill is passed, the National Commission for Backward Classes will have the power to hear the complaint of the OBCs, and also they will be able to protect their interest. Now the next let's move to the next news item, which is China Djibouti to forge strategic tie. This is not so much important, but important for the strategic location. China has operationalized their first naval logistic base at Djibouti in the Horn of Africa on August 1. It is the first Chinese base around, and also it is the Chinese first overseas military base. We should look at the location of the Djibouti. Djibouti is located on the Horns of Africa. It shares boundary with Red Sea, and the neighboring countries are Sudan, Ethiopia, also a Gulf of Aden. So this was the only fact about this news, that Chinese has opened its first military base in Djibouti, and they have operationalized their naval logistic base. Now let's move to the next news item. The next news item is the bamboo ceased to be a tree, a Freedom Forest Act. What is the context? President Ramnath Kovind has cleared an ordinance. He has signed an ordinance which will amend the Indian Forest Act. Why? What is this? Actually, the aim of this ordinance is that it will omit or it will remove the bamboo grown in non-forest areas from the definition of trees. What will be the benefit? How will it be helpful? This would help in exempting trees that needs permits for felling or transportation. What actually happens that The bamboo was not categorized, but the bamboo was categorized under the trees. Bamboo is regarded as trees in as per the Indian Forest Act, because of which the farmers never easily cut them, because there are several restrictions on cutting trees. So the president has passed an ordinance and it has removed the bamboo from the definition of trees. And this came after 90 years, because uh, the bamboo has legally ceased to be a tree 90 years ago, and it amended the Indian Forest Act. What will be the benefit of this? The aim of removing it from tree definition is that it will it will help in promoting cultivation of bamboo in non-forest area, which will help in achieving the two objectives. The first one is the it will help in growing the income of farmers, and second, it will increasing the green cover of the country. So this is the news item. Let's move to the next news item, that is related to Pradhan Mantri Mahila Shakti Kendra. The Union Cabinet has given its approval for setting up the Pradhan Mantri Mahila Shakti Kendra. What is it? It is a one-stop coverage support service for empowering rural women. It will help in empowering rural women, and it will also help in increasing the opportunities with skill development, employment, digital literacy, health and nutrition. And it will also help in improving the declining child sex ratio. It will also ensure survival and protection of girl child and ensuring the education. What is the plan of the government? The government is planning to reach 115 most backward districts in the country with the help of this Pradhan Mantri Mahila Shakti Kendra. So let's move to the next and final news item, which is related to the International Year of Millets. India has sent a proposal to UN, that is United Nations, for declaring the 2018 as International Year of Millets. What are millets? The millets are basically jowar, ragi, bajra, and they are important because millets has uniquely high content of nutrients, which are including precious starch levels, B vitamin, calcium, iron, potassium, zinc, magnesium, and fats. What will be the benefit if UN approves 2018 as the International Year of Millets? It will help in raising the awareness about the millets, and uh, policymakers and industry and R&D sectors, which will help in increasing it awareness about the millets, which is a very good source of nutrients. So this is all about today's important news of Hindu and the PIB. Thank you for listening. Thank you.